So here's another question. The pastor writes, I always want to be sensitive to what the member needs or wants, listening with compassion and doing my best to really understand them. But too often I found out many counseling sessions later that there is much more to the issue than just their side of the story. We can be more sensitive to the speck in others' eyes while somehow seeing straight past the log in our own eye. And in most cases, what the member asks for next is for me, the pastor, to counsel their spouse or their children, whom they believe to be the root cause of the problem. It's very difficult for me to confront that person's sin in a firm and loving manner and help them see that they could be part of the problem. They become defensive and unwilling to listen because the moment I suggest that there might be some sin in their own life, they feel that I am no longer for them. So this is not something that's unique to just a church situation. Therapists experience this all the time. Parents may come in and tell the therapist, fix my teenager. He's out of control. Or the spouse comes in and says, fix my spouse. He's the problem or she's the problem. This is quite common. And so as psychological research goes, one of the best ones that I found is systems theory. Basically what that means is people form systems with other people. It could be a family system, it could be a church leadership system, it could be students within a classroom, they form a system. So in the case presented here, the person who is coming to the pastor says that fix my spouse and fix my kids because I am not at fault. And I think one way to think about this is, I guess it depends on how spiritually mature these people are. If they are not spiritually mature, then we may be more diplomatic in our word usage and teach them about systems. Just let them know that the two spouses and the kids form one system. So let's take a look at the system and see what are the contributions of each member of that system, and what is the responsibility of each member to make the system better. So I'll give you an example of illustrating that with the Legos. Okay, so let's say this is the dad, this is the husband, and here is the wife, and here's the kid. Okay, so if you invite the whole family in, you can ask the dad, how do you see the problem? And he may find that, I don't know, maybe they are ganging up against him. And so he's upset about that. And he says, fix them. But then if you ask the mom, okay, how would you rearrange this in your perspective? And, she says that he makes demands that are completely unreasonable, or he drinks, 8 cans of beer in an hour, and he gets really scary. And so I have no choice but to maybe protect the son and myself from him. And maybe the son has his own perspective on everything. As you can probably tell, there's going to be different stories, and they're going to be defensive about themselves. And so, you can, again, share with them about systems and say, you guys form a system. and every part contributes to the system in some way. So as you hear what the other people are saying, you can request that they change certain things, but you cannot force anyone to do anything that is against their will, and neither can I as a pastor. I cannot force them to do anything, but I want you to focus on yourself. I'd like for you to ask yourself, in what way do I contribute to this system in a negative way? What do I cause fear to people? Do I cause irritation to people? Do I cause people to feel lonely? Do I cause people to feel like they have no value? So if I'm causing that, then what can I do that can make it 5% better this week, right? What can I do? What can I do that can make it 5% better this week? You know, and I say 5% because we're not trying to knock things out of the park. I'm saying 5% because it's good to shoot for some attainable goals and then build off of that. So I think that using something like systems can be helpful, as opposed to saying, hey, you're sinning and you should take the log out of your own eye. Not that it's untrue, it's just that, especially when you're dealing with people who are all revved up, maybe very, very spiritually immature, we want to be able to use language that's actually helpful for them. So systems can be one thing. And then also, I think maybe the topic of boundaries can be talked about, where you can say that if people treat you in a way that is dangerous, that attacks your dignity, you have the right to remove yourself temporarily from that situation until things settle down, and then you can re-enter that situation. The boundary is basically saying something like, the way that you're speaking right now is making me very nervous, so why don't I take an hour break? Okay, I'm gonna take an hour break, and I'll come back. That's the key. You got to say when you're coming back. And when I come back, maybe we can try again. Okay, and you can talk to me in a way that tells me what you're needing or what you're wanting or what you're feeling, but I will not tolerate you speaking to me in such a way that makes me feel unsafe. I will not tolerate you striking me. I will not tolerate you mocking me, verbally attacking me, yelling at the top of your lungs. I want to have a very productive talk with you. So boundaries can be a good resource to read with them, or just to talk through. And using the systems approach can also be helpful for them as well. And I hope that, no matter what you do, that you're not trying to look at who's right or who's wrong, but you're looking at it from their perspective, and you say like, okay, well, if that's how you see things, then I can see why you would feel so nervous, or I could see why you feel so devalued. Now, mom, I want to hear from you. And mom says, okay, well, I have a different perspective. And mom says her perspective, and you say to her, you know what? From your perspective, I can see why you feel invisible. I can see why you shrink back. I can see why whatever, because, your experience is informing you of how you need to protect yourself. And you go around the table and see like whether you can really understand what their experience is and why they're reacting certain ways. Even if it is sinful, you can say, look, I've been there too. When I have been reactive in certain ways that made me feel out of control, or made me feel so just indignant and things were unjust. I've done certain things that were really harmful to other people too, or even harmful to myself. So I totally get it. But we're here to try to figure out what we can do as a family system that can make it 5% better or 10% better.